Two times. Two times this has happened. All right, so there was a show this past Saturday, and I'm going to get into the review of the show a little bit later. But first, I just want to go ahead and talk about how this crazy thing has happened to me. So there was a show yesterday. There was a show, like maybe about a few weeks ago at the place where I was training at, and at some point, I think the booker, the guy who was in charge of everything, I want to say he was just joking. He comes over to me and says, "So, you ready to wrestle?" One of my guys called out, and I'm sitting here like I'm flabbergasted. Like, sir, I'm just a trainee, man. I don't even think my trainer is ready for me to do that yet. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, "I'm just messing with you, man. No big deal, no big deal." So I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, in my brain, I'm like, sure, I could do it. I just like if I make any mistakes, just know what you're signing up for. You know what I mean? Because like I know a little bit about wrestling, but there's a reason why I'm still training. I don't mind that part. But yeah, and then I want to say, we were training recently, like maybe a few days ago. I was in training, and at some point, one of the trainers is like, "Hey, you got wrestling gear? You got wrestling gear?" And I'm like, I was thinking about getting wrestling gear once I actually, become a wrestler. Once I'm told that I can wrestle, I was gonna get some gear. He's like, well, you never really know when you're gonna need your gear, so you need to always have it on you just in case somebody doesn't show up. And he's like, hey, you want to be a part of the show? And this happened like two separate occasions where I'm being like, where they're just sort of like joking about the possibility of me being part of a show because somebody just doesn't call in or something like that. So it's like in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, is this it? Am I wrestling this year? Is this happening? So that's just sort of surprised me a little bit. So speaking of the place where I'm training at, Universal Championship Wrestling, by the way, I wanted to go ahead and just talk about the actual event, the actual show. First off, the show was good. The matches were fun to watch. The crowd was lit. I was working concessions, so it's like the crowd was lit, not like drunk or anything like that, but they truly did enjoy the show. At some point, I work in concessions, and they really love them cheese chili fries, man. I tell you, they were just like I had to shill those out back to back. Thankfully they weren't ordering food during the matches, so I could actually go out of concessions and watch the matches and cheer and boo and all this other stuff. So that was fun. There was one segment that kind of got to me though. There was one segment that sort of surprised me. Okay, so for the past 2 or 3 shows, right, there's this gentleman named McClure, and he has cerebral palsy. So he has a hard time standing. He has a hard time speaking. Like, you could speak to him, and he'll actually have a conversation with you. You can understand what he's saying, but he just has a hard time getting it out. Every so often, he will say a word, and he'll be like, "Whoa, words," and because like I said, the palsy. You know what I mean? It's just it messes with how he says the words, stuff like that. You can still understand him. Now, he's been doing like promo segments throughout the show, just basically sort of like just being an inspiration towards other people who just happen to be disabled, who happen to be at the event. And up until now, you never really understood specifically what he was going for, what he was intending to do, what he wanted to do while he was part of the company. But until he says that he wants to be a manager, he says, "I want to be a manager." And there's this heel stable there, right? And the heel stable, they call themselves the Privilege, and it's you would with a name like the Privilege, you can only sort of assume what they represent. You know what I'm saying? So they have. I'll give you a hint: white cards of privilege. It's a bit of a thinker, but yeah. But so he has the so there's a segment going on, and they're going over, and they're just they're talking to he says he wants to be a manager. The Privilege comes out. They're just flashing their white privilege cards, And and at some point they go up to him and the leader of the group, Simon Sermon, he says, "Well, you want to be a manager? How's about you be a manager alongside the privilege?" He's asking this question to this guy. You know what I'm saying? And up before this, you have to understand this group is the heels. They're bad guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, in my brain, I'm just hoping that he says no to that. I'm hoping that he says no to that. Because as soon as he did that, I had to go back to concessions. I don't know what happened after that, but I hope that he said no. I hope that he said no. Moving along. Matches, like I said, the matches were fun to watch though, man. Like I can't spoil everything because you got to check it out on. I will say this though, you got a chance to sort of see, one of my favorite wrestlers, Cosmo Martinez. You got a chance to see Omada. You had a chance to see Jessica. You had a chance to see my homeboy who I trained with, DJ, Dion Summers. And like a whole bunch of other wrestlers who just happen to sort of just be, getting their way up in the business. It's a really it's a fresh show. I want to say this is like their third event, and their upcoming event is on the 9th of April, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. And it's a good show though, man. It's a good show. It's just starting. I don't even think there's a champion established yet, but that could happen very soon. And but man, it's beautiful to know that I'm sort of helping out and being a part of it, and there's a possibility that they might put me on the show. I mean, I don't know if they will, but it would be cool if they did. Also, I really do hope that Colton said no. I really do hope that Colton McClure, that was his name. I hope that he said no. I really do. But that's it though. I'm pretty confident that this might be the year that I start wrestling, or at least I sure as heck hope so. Love and peace, y'all, and check out UCW. Check out Universal Championship Wrestling. And you'll be glad you did.